Trump's legal troubles to the Bidens. Now, the White House is ruling out the possibility that President Biden would pardon his son, Hunter Biden, over the ongoing federal investigation of his business dealings. This after a Delaware federal judge this week rejected that plea deal between the DOJ and Hunter Biden's lawyers, giving them 30 days to file a new legal briefing.
From a presidential perspective, is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
No.
Well,
I just said no. I just answered. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, she did not elaborate. Joining us now is Ronald Chapman, federal defense attorney. Ronald, thanks for being here with us this morning.
Thank you.
So on Wednesday, the judge said she needed more information. Come back to me in a month. How likely is it that they will hash out some sort of new deal in 30 days amid this ongoing investigation, especially since it does sound like the defense team isn't agreeing to anything unless it comes with full immunity for Hunter Biden?
Yeah, well, there's certainly a lot of work to do in 30 days. And here's the critical issue. We learned as the plea was being taken that there was a misunderstanding of the amount of immunity that Hunter Biden would get for the charges. The plea deal specifically states that he will be immune from the crimes outlined in Attachment 1, but Attachment 1 wasn't clear on which crimes were being discussed. The Biden team believes that he was going to get immunity for practically everything. Weiss indicated during the plea hearing that there would be some other investigation against Hunter Biden, which caused this whole thing to break down. The concern here is that either the Justice Department gives Hunter Biden full immunity for everything and the deal goes forward, or they don't. And that is a lot of work to do in 30 days. I don't think Hunter Biden's legal troubles are going to be over anytime soon.
And I think Ronald, that was the head scratcher for a lot of us, especially those, of us without legal minds, is how is this not decided upon and locked into place before we all met up at this Delaware courthouse on Wednesday? I'm interested to see and to know what those negotiations look like behind the scenes. Conservative critics, some of them, have raised this theory that President Biden might use his presidential authority to pardon Hunter. However, as we just played in that soundbite off the top, the White House came out yesterday, said there's no possibility that would happen. Do you think that's set in stone, though?
Well, that was about as firm of a denial as I have ever seen from the White House. So I think that they mean it, that there would be no pardon. I think the concern here with a pardon is the fact that Donald Trump specifically appointed or allowed Weiss to stay in office as the U.S. attorney over there. And as a result, if he pardons by sort of overturning that decision to charge and indict, this would look a little bit more like corruption, even though it's technically allowed. I don't think that Biden wants the optics of a pardon, especially going into a new campaign here.
Okay, we'll see if that holds true. Yeah, this is a story that just keeps on growing new legs. As you know, also, Hunter Biden's former business partner, Devin Archer, set to testify on Monday. Archer was subpoenaed back in June because he played a significant role in the Biden family business deals abroad. He'll reportedly tell lawmakers that then Vice President Joe Biden was on at least 24 of their phone calls. I mean, how do you read that? What will this mean specifically for the investigation?
Well, this was very concerning, and I have to preface all of these comments by saying before somebody gets pretrial diversion, generally they have to sit down and provide a tell-all to prosecutors. The attachment in Hunter Biden's plea deal discussed Chinese business deals, Ukrainian business deals, meaning he would have had to discuss all of that with the Justice Department. Now, Weiss either asked the question, was your father involved, or he didn't. If he didn't, that's not a complete investigation. And if we find that witnesses are coming forward suggesting that Joe Biden was involved in some of these business deals, there's going to be huge questions surrounding this immunity deal and whether or not it was special treatment. So I'm not clear exactly on what evidence is going to be available with respect to Joe Biden's involvement, but I'm certain that either House investigations or a renewed Justice Department investigation will get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, we'll see what new developments and new revelations come on the horizon, specifically within the next 30 days here. Ronald Chapman, thanks so much.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.